After thinking for a moment, Zhang Yi decided to use the double doors to travel to the upper floors of the building first. He concluded that even if there were people defending the building, it would be impossible for them to be on top. Since he found something good, how could he not go and see it? Zhang Yi showed a sly smile at the corner of his mouth. The distance between the two buildings was less than 300 meters, so Zhang Yi went through it directly. The next moment, he walked out of another door and appeared in a house in the abandoned building. The darkness in front of him had no effect on him, and the night vision function of the tactical eyepiece was very good. Zhang Yi looked around, and there was a look of surprise in his eyes, because he discovered at the first time that the room in front of him was filled with vines and branches of plants, so much so that vines were crawling under his feet. Plants? Are they mutant plants? Is this the secret of the forbidden area of Snow Worship Sect? But what is this plant used for? Provide food, or does it have other functions? Zhang Yi thought to himself. This was the first time he saw such a huge and strange plant, but thinking that cats and dogs can become huge, not to mention plants that have unlimited growth capabilities, Zhang Yi was ready to escape at any time. A sword rang out from Zhang Yi's right hand. He had activated his supernatural power, which increased his body speed and reaction ability by 8 times. After a long period of private training with Liang Yo, his close combat strength has also improved greatly. The key is that his weapons are good and his supernatural power is strong. Even if he encounters an enemy in such a narrow environment, he can react quickly. Zhang Yi walked forward step by step. The door of the office was blocked by vines. He cut the vines with the sword and a red blood-like substance came out from the vines he walked through. But when he came out, he was shocked, because the center of the entire building was actually dug into a sinkhole. Under his feet was the corridor, which was destroyed for more than half, and there was only a width of about 1 meter to stand. But the next moment, Zhang Yi didn't care about his feet, because he saw the huge dark red plant, which rose from the deepest part of the building like a towering sky and went straight to the ceiling of the top floor. Is this thing a world tree? Zhang Yi thought of a huge plant he had learned about. Obviously, the plant in front of him was not that kind of thing. Although there were trees that were even bigger than it in the past, Zhang Yi knew that this huge plant was definitely a mutation, and it had grown to such a size in just a few months. The most bizarre thing was that it was blood red all over, and the tree had a rhythm like human breathing. Zhang Yi took several deep breaths in a row to calm himself down. He began to think about the situation in front of him. There was no doubt that he had discovered a huge secret of the snow worship cult. Then the choice came. Should he watch the excitement, pretend nothing happened and leave, or collect the fruits and branches, open the giant insect egg-like thing and take a closer look? This is a very difficult choice. Once discovered, it is very likely that the people of Snow Worship Sect will fight him to death. But now, will Snow Worship Sect dare to fight him to death at such a critical moment? Zhang Yi thought about it again and again, and finally, he didn't want to miss this opportunity. So he walked over and picked 2 bright red fruits from the branches. While picking, he carefully observed the reaction of the giant plant. After seeing that it was normal, Zhang Yi was relieved and then cut some branches and took down a few leaves. Seeing that nothing unusual happened, Zhang Yi raised his head and looked at the densely packed cocoon-like ellipsoidal objects hanging on the wall. Will there be some big insects inside? Zhang Yi was still a little scared, to be honest. People have an instinctive disgust for insects. If he really peeled it open and saw the big bugs crawling out of it with green mucus flowing all over his body, he would vomit all the food he had eaten the previous night. Gritting his teeth, Zhang Yi decided to get one and take a look. He would do it once and for all. He walked along the broken corridor to a cocoon, cut off its branches with a knife, and then successfully put it into the mutant space. After completing this step, Zhang Yi did not hesitate at all and decisively opened the double doors and left the abandoned building. He was not in a hurry to study the things he had obtained. After all, he was not good at it. So Zhang Yi returned to the car and pretended to rest, but he did not sleep all night. Time came to the next day, and Zhang Yi carefully observed the movements of the Snow Worship Sect. However, after a day, no zombies appeared around Snow Worship Cult. This scene was too weird. At the beginning, Zhang Yi and his team had expected that there would not be a large-scale zombie group attacking at first. But around Snow Worship Cult, there were already a lot of zombies. That night, everyone gathered behind the church again to discuss the matter. The zombies suddenly stopped moving. Either they retreated or they noticed our actions and were secretly planning something. Now I have to consider that the wisdom of the zombie king may be much higher than we thought, Zhang Yi said. Xiao Honglian frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "These strange things show too much wisdom. I would believe it if there were humans guiding them from behind. If they don't show up, do we have to stay here all the time?" Bian Junwu crossed his arms and asked calmly, "Are there any news from your respective bases?" Everyone shook their heads. "No, the base is unusually quiet. Although our people have moved underground, there are also surveillance cameras on the ground, but no zombies were found." Zhang Yi suddenly thought of something and looked at Bian Junwu. "Could it be because you killed a zombie king? The existence of the zombie king is obviously special. It can be said to be the core of a group of zombies. Once the zombie king dies, the zombie group formed with it as the center will lose order, and now it can be concluded that there must be more than one intelligent zombie king in Tianhai City. Perhaps there is some special connection between them." Bian Junwu's face was expressionless. He just said to everyone calmly, "This is just the beginning. Maybe the zombies are still watching, but what we have to do is wait patiently. This is like fishing. It depends on who is more patient, the fisherman or the fish. Because one zombie king was killed, the other zombie kings became alert. In any case, Zhang Yi still planned to study the things he had obtained. Late that night, Zhang Yi woke up a few people and took out the things he found to show them. After knowing that Zhang Yi had entered the forbidden area of the snow worship sect, everyone was a little nervous, but at the same time they were looking forward to it. Everyone is curious. The feeling of prying into other people's secrets is particularly exciting. Zhang Yi took out the red fruit branches and leaves and the cocoon. When he took out the cocoon, the expressions on several people's faces were obviously a little strange. Because of the size of the cocoon, it looked like a person was wrapped inside. Zhang Yi said to Zhou Care, "Care, you are more familiar with using a knife here. You're responsible for cutting them open." Zhang Yi has space for all the tools in the laboratory. Here she can completely dissect and study them. Zhou Care said, "These fruits and branches must be returned to the laboratory for slow research. The environment here is not suitable for development. However, this cocoon is a little strange. It looks like a mummy." As soon as she said this, everyone nodded. Everyone agreed with her statement. Zhang Yi also hoped that this was a mummy, not an insect egg. Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Let's cut it open first. Maybe things are not that mysterious." Zhou Care nodded. She took out the knife, and many sharp knives were unfolded. She picked up one, and her slender palm very steadily cut the dark red leaves from the head. Sure enough, after cutting open the leaves, a skinny corpse appeared inside. Zhang Yi recalled that there were thousands of such corpses hanging densely on the wall in the abandoned building, and he already knew the function of the plant. "So that's it," Zhang Yi explained in the puzzled eyes of the crowd. "There is a huge mutant plant in the abandoned building. It should be able to absorb nutrients from the corpse and then produce this kind of red fruit. We also saw many snow worshippers eating this red fruit. This is probably the source of their food. In other words, their forbidden area is actually a living granary. No wonder they are so careful and don't allow any outsiders to get close." After learning the truth, everyone inevitably felt a little bored. After all, they have no shortage of food, and they are not interested in this mutant plant that can feed thousands of people. Of course, this plant is magical and valuable. It's just that Zhang Yi and his team really don't need it. Zhang Yi said to Zhou Care again, "After you go back, analyze the composition of this fruit and its branches and leaves to see if there is anything abnormal." Zhang Yi actually lost interest in the plant. It was just out of his usual caution that he told Zhou Care. Zhou Care nodded. "Give me some time. This plant is very easy to study. I'll make a slice and observe it with a microscope and biological reagents." On the investigation team side, Meng Siyu took off her white gloves and looked at the dissected corpse said to Bian Junwu, who was not far away. It's just a corpse that has been drained of nutrients. There is nothing abnormal. As for the fruit it produces, it has some hallucinogenic effects. It can help the top leaders of the snow worship cult better control their believers. But no pathogens were found, and the sugar content is quite high. It should be considered a nutritious food. Bian Junwoo pushed his frog glasses. I know. When we go back, take some of the rhizomes and see if the experts in the laboratory can cultivate it. This thing is very useful. Deep in the abandoned building, Zhang Yixian stood in front of the blood vine and looked up at the cocoons hanging upside down. He was counting them and suddenly he noticed, hey, one less. They are so curious. The next day, there was still no trace of the corpse group. This made everyone's heart more and more gloomy. The less the corpse group appeared, the more likely it was that they were brewing a terrorist attack. Bian Junwoo has already mobilized the resources of Jiangnan district and used satellites to monitor the entire Tianhai city, trying to find the movement track of the zombies. Finally, with the help of high technology, they really found clues. Bian Junwoo called everyone over and told them the latest news. The zombies are gathering, and they are gathering in this direction. Preliminary estimates show that the number is at least 100,000. You must be prepared. This is a tough battle. 100,000? This number made everyone frown.